people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
News. Okay, we'll start with this. Jesse Bam Rodriguez versus Fernando Martinez in talks for the Ring Unification Championship Showdown. There no longer appears to be any hope for a Fernando Martinez versus Kazuto Ioka rematch. It's not all bad news for boxing fans, however, as an event more significant to super flyweight appears to be on the horizon. The Ring has learned that there are ongoing talks between Martinez's camp and the team surrounding the Ring and WBC super flyweight king, Jesse Bam Rodriguez. The hope is for the title unification bout between the very best two junior bantamweights on the planet to take place sometime this spring, should the two sides come to an agreement, and I don't see why they wouldn't. Argentina's Martinez, 17-0 with 9 KOs, is the Ring's number one junior bantamweight contender and the current WBA champion. San Antonio's Rodriguez, 21-0 with 14 KOs, is the Ring's number 5 pound-for-pound fighter, co-promoted by Matchroom Boxing and Taken Promotions. Matchroom has been in contact with PBC representatives for Martinez, though not at a point to suggest whether a deal is on the horizon. Whatever the case, Martinez's involvement with Japan's Ioka, 31-3 with 1 draw, 16 knockouts, the Ring's number 3 super flyweight contender, is one and done for the moment. So this is more than just a lofty suggestion Eddie Hearn is making. There has been a dialogue. How far along they've gotten is the question. Martinez defeated Ioka via unanimous decision to unify the WBA and IBF super flyweight titles last July at the Ryogoku Kobukan in Tokyo, Japan. The two were on course for a rematch last New Year's Eve, only for Martinez to withdraw due to a reported bout with the flu just hours before the official pre-fight weigh-in. Ioka, a former 4-division champion, was left with neither an opponent nor the opportunity to regain his WBA title. You guys know what I think. I think that Martinez was struggling to make the weight. I don't actually buy that he came down with the flu or any of that. I think he knew he wasn't going to make it, and he needed an out, and that was it. Martinez already vacated his IBF title ahead of the planned rematch and was prepared to move forward with the rematch for some time in the first quarter of this year. Those plans have since been abandoned, though neither side has replied to messages left by the Ring seeking clarification. The alternative isn't so bad for Martinez, though. Rodriguez gained his WBC title and won the Ring Magazine Super Flyweight crown last June 29th in Phoenix, Arizona. The 2-division champion had to climb off the canvas to dethrone long-reigning Juan Francisco Estrada for his true championship. The win came 6 months after Rodriguez exited the flyweight division as unified IBF and WBO champion. His first defense of the Ring Super Flyweight Championship and second tour with the WBC's belt came in a third-round knockout of Pedro Guevara last November 9th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Could be unifying in his next fight. Securing the unification bout is crucial to Martinez, who is up against an overdue mandatory title defense obligation. Costa Rica's David Jimenez, 16-1 with 11 knockouts. The Ring's number 9 super flyweight contender holds the interim version of the WBA title. His team previously confirmed to the Ring that a protest was filed with the sanctioning body to enforce that status. Alphabet organizations tend to favor unification bouts under such scenarios, though often with the post-fight declaration that the winner would next honor the mandatory. So they said that Matchroom contacted representatives at the PBC to talk about doing this fight with Fernando. Should we be worried? Worried about the PBC? I don't think so. I think it's been some time since Fernando even fought under the banner, and here and now, they don't have much use for a super flyweight, even a champion, they really never did have much of a stake in the super flyweight division. So I don't think the PBC is going to be a problem. And if anything, they'll get a percentage of Fernando's purse without having to stake any of their own money on a show. So it works out for them. We know how protective they used to be of their fighters and wanting to keep everything in-house. But now they're at a point to where maybe the only way they can generate revenue with some of these guys is to loan them out. So I don't think they're going to be a problem. And David Jimenez? Is he going to be a problem? WBA interim champion as of April of last year. And April of this one is not that far off. It's not that far away. Is he going to be a problem? That all depends on how much money is behind him. If the WBA stands to benefit more from allowing Fernando to unify than bogging him down with a mandatory, guess what they're going to do? They're going to let him unify. Now, I don't know for sure who's at the helm of this potential promotion for Bam versus Fernando. It's not a given that it's Matchroom. It could be for one of those Ring Magazine cards that Turkey's putting on. And if it is, then it's almost a guarantee that not only will the fight get done, but they will be able to stay the WBA's mandate. Delay it a while longer. Long enough that these two guys can unify. Don't forget, all four sanctioning bodies have partnered up with Turkey, so if this is a fight that Turkey's putting on, they're gonna let him do it. Sorry, David. The fight. If they can get the fight over the line, and the fight happens, I like Bam Rodriguez to win, and I like Bam Rodriguez to win by way of knockout in what promises to be an all-action shootout. Fernando Martinez has got some guns. I think Bam's got bigger ones, better ones. Bam! The difference is going to be Bam's footwork. That's what's going to separate them. Bam! Fernando Martinez is a formidable fighter and a formidable champion, but not that hard to understand. Figure out. Though formidable, he's beaten two world champions in the super flyweight division. Jerwin Ancajas for the IBF and Kazuto Ioka for the WBA. Will Bam be his next victim? I don't think so. I think Bam stops him. I think Bam is up for this. This is the kind of fight that Bam wants. And this is the kind of fight people want to see him in. They've seen him in there with the legends. Now they want to see him in there with somebody a bit younger. Somebody closer to their prime. That's Fernando. Men's heavyweight news. Ahead of his upcoming fight with unbeaten Agit Kabayel, the secret weapon inside of the camp of Zhang Chang. Paterson, New Jersey. Zhang put the finishing touches on training camp on Tuesday ahead of his heavyweight showdown against unbeaten heavyweight Agit Kabayel, who's on some run himself. Zhang, 27-2 with one draw, 22 knockouts, will meet Kabayel, 25-0 with 17 knockouts on February 22nd for the WBC interim heavyweight title. The 12-round heavyweight fight will be part of the Riyadh season card at the Kingdom Arena in Saudi that will be headlined by the Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol undisputed light heavyweight championship match. Zhang, 41, put in his work with trainer Sean George, tightening up his technique at True Warriors Boxing Club to ensure no mistakes, however subtle, goes uncorrected. George wears Ray-Ban glasses equipped with a camera which allows the team to watch instant replays of their training. Training footage from the opponent's perspective. Oh, that's crafty. That actually is pretty smart. In his last fight, Zhang scored a fifth-round knockout over former heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. A win over the 32-year-old German Kabayel put Zhang in a pole position for a world title opportunity. Zhang and team will leave the United States for Saudi Arabia on Thursday, February 13th, giving him more than a week to acclimate to the time difference. Today is the 13th, so I'm going to assume that Zhang is en route to the kingdom. The kingdom. I don't have a horse in the race here, that is. I don't have a rooting interest in either fighter. I like both fighters equally, so I wouldn't be mad if either man won, but I am going with Agit Kabayel. The difference is youthfulness. The difference is activity. The difference is movement. Chang is a very dangerous man, especially in the early goings of a fight, and especially if you insist on standing right in front of him, like Joe Joyce did. What about Wilder? He did the opposite. He tried to circle away from Zhang. Yeah, he tried to box him, tried to set him up for a big right-hand counter, but it was a bit late in the game for Deontay Wilder to try to change and add to, become more than what he had been up until that point, which was a one-handed fighter, a guy who the entirety of a fight is looking to land a single punch, and he doesn't do much else up until that happens. It was a bit late in the game for Wilder to try to be something else. You know what they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
It was too late for Malik Scott to try to turn Wilder into a boxer, so that didn't work either.
I believe that Agit Kabayel will succeed where Joe Joyce and Deontay Wilder failed, because he's a fresher, younger fighter than they are. He's on a hot streak of his own, and his movement will separate them.
I believe that Agit will fight a better version of the fight that Joseph Parker fought in March of last year when he narrowly escaped getting knocked out and won a decision.
A majority decision? I believe that Agit will fight a better version of that fight. So Zhang loses a decision to Parker, rebounds off the loss by knocking out Deontay Wilder, and now finds himself in a fortuitous position that if he can beat Agit Kabayel, he will be WBC interim champion.
That's why it's important to stay ready and stay active.
Closed out the year on a win because it didn't take them that long to get Zhang back out there. Turkey LL Sheik still had use for him.
Another example of the opportunities that Turkey's creating.
Who knows how long it would have took to get Zhang back out there if not for the shows that Turkey's putting on and the opportunities that he's creating for so many of these fighters. Not just the headliners, not just the big names, but the guys like Zhang.
The hot potatoes.
The formidable fighters that are part of the Who Needs Ya Club, the high-risk, low-reward guys.
Kabayel.
He's a bit of a high-risk, low-reward guy himself. He has been for some time now, who took on two high-risk, low-reward fighters in Arslanbek Makhmudov and Frankie Sanchez. Knocked them both out. It's a little bit more impressive to me than knocking out the faded husk of Deontay Wilder. Deontay didn't have much left to give when Zhang fought him.
I picked Zhang to win that fight. I picked Zhang to knock out Wilder. I'm sure most of you guys did too.
But this is different. In Agit Kabayel, he'll be facing a younger fighter than Wilder, 32 years old, and a smaller target, standing in at 6'3" with an 80-inch wingspan. That adds to his trickiness.
He's got the same wingspan as Zhang, who stands in at 6'6".
And that's what makes him tricky. He's a small target, and you may think that you're out of range of his punches, but you're not, because he's got deceptively long arms. Tack on his movement. You think he's there, you think he's within striking distance, but he's not, because he keeps moving around, fighting on his toes, putting punches together while he does it. And his variety of punches, not just head punches, body punches.
So he broke down Makhmudov.
Body punches. So does he knock out Zhang?
Oof.
The problem with Zhang is that he's most dangerous in the early goings of a fight, say the first 4 or 5 rounds, but after that, he doesn't do much of anything. Now, maybe you can attribute that to his age, that he is 41 years old.
Maybe it's his age, or maybe it's that he's pacing himself throughout the fight because of his age. In any event, it results in the same thing. In the second half of a fight, he doesn't do much of anything. He let Filip Prgovic off the hook, Joseph Parker off the hook.
He had enough power to get both those guys out of there, but he didn't finish the job.
And I don't think he finishes Agit Kabayel.
Zhang is strong, he's plenty strong, but he just doesn't throw enough. Throughout the fight, he doesn't do enough.
No!
Going with Agit Kabayel, possibly by way of knockout, possibly. Zhang already has 1 or 2 career blemishes, but I think this might be the first time he gets stopped, he gets knocked out. The run of form that Agit Kabayel is on, that would be the way to go.
32 years old.
Time is on his side. He brings more than respectable power. He brings movement. He brings activity.
Elusiveness.
An excellent fight between two of the dark horses in the heavyweight division. You got to thank Turkey for putting this one together, because without his cash injections in the sport, you wouldn't get a fight like this. You just wouldn't.
It's a great fight.
And it's a fight I think Agit Kabayel wins. I like Zhilei Zhang, but I don't think he's going to have his hand raised in this one. I'm going with Kabayel by way of knockout.
Knockout.
Now, as it pertains to Alexander Usyk, who still is this division's lineal and Ring Magazine champion, you may have heard that Usyk expects 2 more fights and then retirement.
It's time.
Unified heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk has revealed that he expects to fight no more than twice before retiring from boxing. In an interview, the Ukrainian boxer said he feels great, but does not see himself fighting beyond the next 2 bouts. When asked who would make the final decision on his retirement, Usyk stated, "I feel great myself. My family feels great, but I have no more than 2 fights left." Usyk also ruled out a return to cruiserweight, citing the 6 years of work it took to build up his weight for the heavyweight division. It would be too difficult to cut back down, he explained, adding that his conditioning team advised against it. I'm 38, still young, but my team says it's a bad idea.
I was surprised to hear that because Usyk really only weighs in about 220, 221 as a heavyweight. Cutting 20 pounds for a guy 6'3" doesn't seem like it would be all that difficult, but his age, it is a factor.
When asked about the upcoming fight between Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker, Usyk shared his team predicts a close contest, giving Dubois a slight edge with a 52% chance of winning. However, he made it clear that he is willing to fight either opponent. Whoever wins, I'll fight them. No problem, he said.
A chance to finish the unfinished business that some people think he has with Daniel Dubois if he emerges the victor, and I think he's going to. I think he's going to knock out Joseph Parker, but I'm actually a little bit more interested in Usyk versus Parker because we haven't seen that.
That if you're asking me what fight would I prefer to see Usyk in next, it's the Parker fight, but for that to happen, Parker's got to beat Daniel, and I don't think he's going to.
2 more fights and that's it.
So he won't be around for the winner of Bakoli versus Ajagba, what is an IBF final eliminator. He won't be around for the winner of Zhang versus Kabayel, a WBC final eliminator.
I'll forgive him for not being around long enough that the WBA orders Usyk versus Pulev.
2 more fights, and that's it. And we already have a pretty good idea who he might fight in his next fight. It's either Joseph or Daniel. For his last fight, he had a more colorful idea. Didn't expect that. A showcase fight. A show fight, as Usyk said, against UFC champion Alex Pereira of Brazil. I wasn't expecting that. I had heard that Alex had some interest in boxing Alexander Usyk in a boxing match, and the interest seems to be mutual. Usyk would be interested in such a fight. We've already seen both Tyson Fury
and Anthony Joshua box in this kind of a novelty act, a novelty show with Francis Ngannou. So Usyk doing it for his final fight, I'm not against it.
Though I think we all know how it's going to go. The mystique of the boxer versus the mixed martial artist has all but dissipated. I think most people will agree. In the boxing ring, the boxer wins. In the octagon, the MMA fighter wins.
The whole mystique centered around this kind of a matchup was that the mixed martial artist, being proficient in so many disciplines, he should be able to beat the boxer at his own game.
But time and time again, we've seen that's not the case. Even when the mixed martial artist does fairly well, all right, for an MMA fighter, what passes for boxing and mixed martial arts doesn't pass in boxing.
It doesn't work.
If nothing else, you can put it together as a spectacle, another novelty fight, and I think it will draw a crowd. It'll sell.
But I don't have any illusions about how it ends. I don't think anybody does at this point.
Y'all know what's going to happen. A bon voyage fight for Alexander Usyk and a chance for Alex Pereira to make money, some real money, more than he's getting in the octagon.
I only wonder if he has the autonomy to participate in such a fight, or is he still under contract with the UFC? When does that contract end?
Is that going to be a problem?